People deserve transparency. They want to be aligned around the organizational priorities, and they want to know the why.
Welcome to another episode of Friday 5 with Dave Adams. Today I'm going to be speaking with Terry O'Rourke, who is CEO of United Federal Credit Union, and Kimitha Firpo, who is the Senior VP of Human Resources. United Federal Credit Union holds over $3.3 billion in assets, serves 178,000 members, and has 700 employees. So I'm sure that we're going to gain a lot of great insights about how to create and foster an awesome culture for our team members and how to attract and retain the best talent. Terry started at the credit union as CEO in March of 2016. Previously, he was Chief Financial Officer at Lake Michigan Credit Union, and he has extensive credit union and non-credit union management experience. Kimitha Firpo joined the credit union in July of 2019. She was previously Senior VP of Organizational Development and was an HR partner at MB Financial, which is a $20 billion bank. She led human resources at American Chartered Bank for 11 years, and she has extensive experience in financial services and human resource management. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this program as we visit with Terry O'Rourke and Kimitha Firpo from United Federal Credit Union. Well, Terry and Kimitha, welcome to Friday 5.
Well, thanks for having us, Dave.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Kimitha, I'm meeting you for the first time, and I know you've been with the credit union for about 2 years, and you have a wealth of human resource management experience. So I'm really looking forward to your perspectives. Terry, you and I have known each other for 7 years, previously with Lake Michigan Credit Union. Yeah, it's gone fast. And I have to say, I've always had great admiration, not just for you personally, but for United Federal, what the credit union accomplished before you took over, but certainly the progress and the great things that you're doing since becoming CEO.
Well, thank you, Dave.
So organizational culture, it is top of mind for a lot of reasons. We're continuing to focus in this quarter on this broadcast, getting perspectives from progressive credit unions like yours. But, you know, in the corporate world, it's well known that for CEOs of really any size organization, setting the tone for organizational culture and working with the team to foster that climate is one of the top priorities. And I want to ask you first, Terry, what does that mean to you as a CEO, your role in contributing to a great culture for your team?
Yeah, well, like Peter Drucker has said, Dave, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And if what that means to me is the success of an organization is determined by the quality of its culture, despite the strategy. If your people don't buy in, if they don't understand the strategy, if they don't feel valued, the best plans aren't realized to their fullest potential. So in short, strategy wins.
Well said. And Kimitha, so you joined the team, you have this extensive human resource management background. What are your perspectives on the importance of culture and what some of the important considerations are?
Well, I agree with everything that Terry said. I think it's just, it's that special sauce that really brings everything to the forefront in terms of serving members. If you have a team that's really working together and excited to be together and work together and build trust and collaboration. And I think that's something that United really has done a great job of doing. So
how do you do that with 700 associates, a credit in the size of United Federal with $3.3 billion in assets and always lots of changes? You're in the process of acquiring a second bank, acquiring a branch from a credit union out of state. You operate in several states. What are some of the important considerations when you walk the talk? Because we all know that culture is important. Terry, kind of comment on what you think some of the most important elements are.
Yeah, you know, Dave, it's really pretty simple. There, in my mind, there are three important considerations for culture. And if you do those things well, it leads to something that's pretty special. And the three things are, number one, over communicate. If people aren't making fun of you for repeating yourself, you're not communicating enough. I once had a CEO tell me that if you think you've communicated something enough, communicate it 2 more times. People deserve transparency. They want to be aligned around the organizational priorities, and they want to know the why. And if they know the why, they're going to feel empowered to help you achieve your goals. The second thing is empowerment. If people are aligned around the priorities, and if they're aligned around the mission, empower them to make the decisions. And they may not even be the same decisions that I would make in that moment or their manager would make in that moment. But if they're consistent with and aligned with the organizational priorities and the mission, it's the right decision. The last thing is being a listening organization. And that's something we've worked on at United over the past several years. And I'd be happy to go into a little more detail, but everyone has to be able to contribute to moving the credit union forward. The people who are on the front line are the ones that are dealing with the members, the people who are supporting those efforts. They are the ones that know what we need to do to get better. So we need to allow them that opportunity, and that makes them feel valued. And if you do those three things well, Dave, if you over communicate, if you empower, if you listen, you develop what I believe we have here at United, a vulnerability-based trust culture. And when I say trust, it's not that I think you're going to do the right thing. It's a culture where we recognize that nobody has all the answers. It's okay to lean on your teammates, their expertise, their knowledge, and if you do that, you develop an organization that's more efficient. It's more solutions-based, and they define success as team success, which is really what you want.
I love the list. Anytime you take on a complex issue like organizational culture, we all know it's important. Everybody approaches it differently. We all have different leadership styles, but when you put down a list like that for your team, your entire team and your leadership team, about communication, empowerment, and listening, I really love that framework. Kemitha, let me turn to you and kind of have you drill a little bit deeper for us. Maybe you can expand on any of those three that you want to expand on. But when it comes down to like walking the talk and getting into the detail, maybe let's talk with over communicating. How do you see that playing out in your culture?
I see it playing out in a lot of different ways. We have technology that helps us communicate between email, Jabber, or instant messaging. We also have our intranet that with our UShare page that helps us post information for employees. We have frequent Team United meetings where Terry and the SLT and other members might get in front of people and talk about issues that are important to them. We also provide talking points to managers if we have important messages that we're communicating. So we really try to be consistent across the organization and make sure that we're all communicating effectively with everyone to make sure that everyone's hearing things from all angles of the organization.
Especially when we're working remotely. So Terry, maybe you can expand a little bit on empowerment and being a listening organization.
Yeah, so we have worked very hard on that over the past several years, as I mentioned, and it started when I first became CEO. It was very important to me that I heard directly from all of the employees at United. And as you mentioned, we're in 6 different states. So I hit the road. The first year I met with every single employee, held town hall meetings in every one of our markets, every one of our branches and departments, and just listened. And that's something I have done every year up until 2020. So that face-to-face is very important. The second thing is we've got a number of ways that employees can provide input back to the organization. We've got on our intranet site an ideas portal where people can submit their ideas and we commit to responding to them within a certain period of time. And we either implement the ideas or we tell them why we can't implement the ideas. And then, really it's just being proactive about it, just making sure we're reaching out and hearing what people have to say.
And I hear both of you mostly talking about the communication, and of which listening is just so critical, but maybe a little bit more on empowerment. It's another one of those leadership terms where we want to really make that statement, but walking the talk and really being in an organization that truly does empower people. Are there some examples of what you do to make that work?
Yeah, the biggest thing is people can't be afraid to fail. You have to allow people to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. So, I would say the biggest, the most important thing is empower them to make the decision. If it doesn't go the way that they expected it to go or that you would like to see it go, have a conversation about it, but let them know that it's okay and we'll do better next time.
I think that's great, and that is so important for us as leaders to, whether we call someone out specifically or whether we reference some project that didn't go particularly well, for us to be able to say at the highest level, the board, CEO, leadership, we have each other's backs, because if we're not stretching and experimenting, we're not being very innovative. I love that. Kemitha, let's shift to human resource management. Obviously, we could list off the 7 or 8 primary facets of HR, everything from hiring and onboarding to development and managing compensation and benefits and everything else associated. But when you approach the overall human resource management function right now, for a credit in your size, where are the biggest challenges and how are you addressing them?
Well, in particular with the situation over the last year with COVID, we've had really 3 different areas of challenges. Typically, HR likes to take a very thoughtful, considered approach to dealing with challenges, because we tend to be a little bit conservative because we're trying to think through all of the risks and opportunities. But I've been thinking about 3 different areas for us where we've really changed how we practice HR. One is response time. We have really become much faster at responding to situations, in particular COVID. So we are now, I feel like we're operating in real time. And it's almost like building a plane while you're flying the plane, because we've had to develop processes, new policies, new metrics to help support our response to COVID. For example, we developed a preparedness plan. We've had to adjust it, be very responsive, dynamic to that. We've had to communicate all kinds of information to employees and managers about how to operate in this new environment, how to stay safe. And then we've also had to develop a process to be responsive to employees and managers in this very unique time where we're all experiencing something very, very new, so we can continue to support our members.
That's great. Terry, as CEO, I think as CEOs and senior leadership, we can all kind of reflect back on when the stay home, stay safe order was issued by our governor, and we all were thrust into this mode of working remotely. But in the case of credit unions, it was always hybrid. It was work remotely, but essential service providers in the branches and the call centers had to be there serving members. What were some of the things that went through your head early on, and how did you rally your team to be agile enough to respond to the crisis?
In terms of, let's address remote work first. So over the past several years, United's been heavily investing in technology to allow our employees to work remotely for business continuity. So when COVID hit, the transition to remote work actually went pretty seamlessly, which we're grateful for. In terms of the frontline working in the branches, when we as a leadership team started talking about COVID and the impact of COVID, we set our priorities. And the priorities were number one, serve our members in their time of greatest need. Number two, keep the employees safe. So we wanted to make sure that the employees knew that their safety was a top priority for us. And Kimitha and her team did a great job. We put in place many of the safety protocols that other credit unions put in place, and we over communicated. We told them our priority is to keep you safe, and here is how we are keeping you safe. So I think that provided a lot of reassurance to the front line that still needed to show up to the branches to serve our members. And I would say the last thing, Dave, is people, they want to make a difference. They want to have an impact. So we routinely shared with our team all of the good, all of the ways we were able to help our members through the member assistance program. So I think that validated the work that they were doing and made them feel good about what they were doing.
Great. So Kimitha, when you think of working remotely and all the different things that we've had to deal with, one issue that is forefront right now is vaccinations. Mm-hmm. How is your credit approaching that in terms of any kinds of requirement or incentive for getting vaccinated, and how are you approaching the communication with your team members?
Well, that your question is very timely. We strategized recently and just announced our strategy around vaccination, and we are encouraging all of our employees to get vaccinations. We're not requiring them to do so, but we are encouraging them, and we're going to do that a couple of different ways. We're giving them time off to go get their vaccines, whether it's going to be a 2-dose vaccine or a single-dose vaccine. And we are also providing some incentive. We really believe in wellness activities at the credit union, both physical and mental. And we are encouraging employees. We have an HSA account. We do a contribution, and if employees get a vaccine, they can use that activity as one of the points to going towards receiving that HSA contribution, as well as it also gives them points in our wellness program overall. So we're trying to provide incentive and paid time off for them to get their vaccines.
Great. So Terry, with the acquisition of another bank and with some of the exciting things that your credit union is doing, we're really appreciating the opportunity to hear about the progressive things that your credit union is doing. So talk about your pending bank acquisition.
Sure. Yeah, we back in, November, we announced that we are acquiring Edgewater Bank, which is based here in St. Joseph, Michigan. It's about $225 million in assets, and we will be adding 4 branches to our network here in Southwest Michigan, and all of Edgewater's 43 employees will be joining Team United. We're very, very, very excited. Edgewater has a strong competency in commercial lending, and that was something we were looking to bolster here at the credit union. So it'll be a very nice acquisition for us.
Kimitha, with the acquisition of another bank, as a human resource management professional, what special considerations come into play when you have those employees in all those different locations around the country?
Well, I think the most important one for me is thinking about the human and human resources. We're all human, and we are all in this situation with COVID for the first time together, and we all have to think about ourselves, our families, our workplaces, and our members. So that's something that we always try to keep top of mind when we're working with people. As we think about something like an acquisition, we want to really embrace all the new employees that are coming to our organization and really honor that this is a new a very important transition and a transition that they might not have anticipated. So how do we welcome them into our culture, honor where they came from, and help them come and be as successful as they can in the new environment? So that's another piece that's really important for us as we welcome our Truity colleagues as well as our Edgewater colleagues.
So as we work to wrap up, Terry, I want to talk about PPP. Your credit union and you personally have been leaders as that important program was rolled out. And I want to have you kind of describe the process that you went through to get the credit union ready to make those important PPP loans for small businesses.
Dave, as you remember, there was just a lot of uncertainty when the program first rolled out. And like many other credit unions, we were unsure how to move forward. We were unsure what the risks were. But at some point, we just had to make the decision that, we have members, small business members in need, and we were going to dive in. And we were going to start doing it and figure it out as we went along, which is what we did. And I couldn't be more proud of the team here. They jumped right in to figure out what the requirements were, what the technology was, and we just put one foot in front of the other and sort of muscled through it. Now this round has gone much more smoothly, as I'm sure it has for all of our credit union colleagues, but it was, I'd like to say that we had some eloquent, grand strategy and plan, but really it was just showing up to work and figuring it out.
To Kenneth's analogy, it was building the plane as we're flying it, literally.
Yeah, that's right.
I recall those days with so much uncertainty around the PPP program and the guidance being so poor from the SBA. So let's wrap up. First to you, Kenneth, and then Terry, the last word to you. Let's talk about innovation and disruption. Maybe Kenneth, you can focus a bit more on anything related to culture and HR. And Terry, maybe you can fill in the blanks with just other kind of innovative things that the credit union is looking at. Kenneth?
Sure. A couple of things that we're doing that I'm really proud of is, one, we rolled out a new parental leave this year for employees, and recognizing that during that very important transition of life, people might really value having a few extra weeks at home with a new member of the family. So that's something that we rolled out last year, and we've had a great response to it. People are really excited about that type of a benefit. Another thing that we've done that we're excited about is in response to COVID, we've really amped up our wellness program, and we've allowed employees to use the wellness benefit in a way that really supports employees that are working more remotely and supports them in a way to stay safe with COVID. So we're allowing them to use more of their wellness dollars towards getting some equipment at home for working out, maybe a yoga mat or hand weights, accessing online courses, and some of the new great apps that are out in terms of like meditation apps, weight loss apps, just to help everyone stay mentally and emotionally fit in these challenging times. So those are two of the things that we're really excited about.
And as you're describing that, I think this is one of the silver linings of this environment we're in, because credit unions have always been caring organizations, but I think hopefully all businesses, but I know credit unions in particular, are learning to be more caring and more thoughtful in their culture because of the circumstances that our employees find themselves in. But that's how we should be, whether we're in a pandemic or not. And I think there are going to be some great lessons learned where we invest more in our people, and in return, they give us even more than they're already giving. Terry, so wrap up, if you would, with your thoughts on some of the disruptive and innovative things that United Federal has on the docket, without giving away all your trade secrets, of course.
Yeah, so I want to take a minute just to talk about an incredibly important topic, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one of our major strategic initiatives this year is to create an authentic and sustainable strategy to support a diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment. We're working with Kaleidoscope Group, which is a well-respected firm in the DEI space, to reinforce our commitment to an inclusive and collaborative organization. We spoke about empowerment earlier. One great example of how we empower our employees, when we first went down this road, the leadership team decided it was critical that Team United be involved in developing the strategy and setting the measurable outcomes. So we're actually, and Kimitha is leading this, creating a DEI council composed of employees from across the organization, our entire footprint, all different departments, all levels, to help us develop the strategy. And I'm really excited to see what we can accomplish as a team in this incredibly important area. So probably not the disruption that you were thinking about when you asked, but certainly a very topical issue that I think we all need to be thinking about. The other disruptive trend, I would say, is, I mentioned earlier how COVID has changed many things in our lives overnight. And one of those things is the way that we all work. And I mentioned that, United has invested in technology to allow our employees to work remotely for business continuity. But, the world has changed and the way people work has changed. So over the next several months, we're going to be working with our department leaders to really develop a workplace solution that allows us to continue to serve our members and accomplish our mission, but also acknowledges the fact that the way people work, the way that they want to work is different now and will be going forward. So again, I think that's another trend that a lot of credit unions are having to address.
I think great minds think alike, if I can put myself in the same group as you. We set up a DEI impact team, and a work group that we just recently set up, we're calling it Working Together Better. Exactly to your point, and it's another silver lining of this environment, is there's surely things that we have learned in terms of the use of technology, enabling work from home for certain positions, and many, many other things that are going to contribute to us being a more caring organization and working together more effectively. Those are tremendous insights. And I have to say, again, thank you, Terry O'Rourke and Kimitha Fairpole, for your time and your insights. I've always known that United Federal was one of the most progressive credit unions in the country, and have watched with a lot of interest the very interesting and innovative things that you've done, whether it's the bank acquisitions or other strategies for expansion. But today, focused on how to foster a great culture. It's been very, very interesting to hear from you. So thank you both, Terry and Kimitha, for being on Friday 5.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having us.
Well, another great conversation, this time with Terry O'Rourke and Kimitha Fairpole from United Federal Credit Union. And I really appreciated Terry's emphasis on the three things that the credit union considers most important when it comes to culture. 1, over-communicate. 2, empowerment. And 3, being a listening organization. We gained a lot of valuable insights from both Terry and Kimitha, and got a sense of how they had to pivot, as we all did during this pandemic, to put a greater focus on being a caring organization. I love some of the innovations that they're talking about, and really appreciated the conversation. Thanks again to Terry and Kimitha. Thank you all for listening to Friday 5 with Dave Adams.